It is a common knowledge that the monarchy of Benin Empire or kingdom has been practiced through a system known as primogeniture. By primogeniture, we mean from father to son, and most precisely from father to the most senior son. This is how it has been in Benin Kingdom. But the truth is, there have been some times in our history where this system has actually been challenged. So that in our history, we have had some Oba whose sons, not just one son, whose sons ruled successively. So this video is on the Oba of Benin whose sons ruled successively. If this is your first time of coming across this page, or you have been here, I welcome you or welcome you back to my page. My name is Ezomo Kakadu. The very first Oba whose sons ruled successively is Oba Eweka I. And remember that Oba Eweka I was the son of Oba Omononya, or Oromiyan if you like. And Oba Oromiyan in turn was the son of Ikaladera. And Ikaladera in turn was the son of our last Ogiso Owodo. So let me take it from the top, right? Our last Ogiso, we had 31 Ogiso when the kingdom was still Igodomigodo. So the 31st Ogiso was by the name Ogiso Owodo. The only son and heir to the throne, the only son of Ogiso Owodo was exiled. So he took refuge at Uhe or Ife. Please, not Ile Ife. Uhe or Ife. When the elders, that is the Dionysian, today Uzamaniyon, when they approached him, he said he could not come back to the kingdom. So he sent his son, Omononya, to come back home and take the throne. So Omononya came back, spent some time here. History has it that he spent 5 years. So during this time, he birthed a son who was later crowned as Oba Eweka I, or Oba Eweka I. So it is the sons of Oba Eweka I who are the first to have ruled the kingdom successively. Right. So the sons, Oba Eweka was the father to Ewuare Idu, not Paidu, please, not our Paidu. Idu Enogumowu. He was also father to Omonuza or Olumuza of Use. Also the father to Omodion of Uwoha, and many others, and some others rather. So the sons of Oba Eweka who became Oba who ruled Benin Kingdom successively are Oba Ohen and Ehemie. The question is, why? How come? So it happened that after the passing of Oba Eweka I, his eldest son, Oba Ohen, was crowned Oba. But unfortunately, Oba Ohen did not have a son, so there was no heir to the throne. But the interesting part is his eldest daughter, by the name of Emadeyo, had a son. That was the first male child in the family. And that son was by the name Elegbe. A lot of Edo people must have heard this name. It's a very popular name in our history, a very strong one at that. So the boy's name was Elegbe. Elegbe and Oba Ohen, his grandfather, were very close. They were very close. They had this very strong bond, this very strong relationship. In short, it is said that Oba Ohen would hardly let Elegbe leave his sight. Now, because of this strong bond and relationship between Oba Ohen and his grandson, Elegbe, Benin people or Edo people already assumed that at the passing of Oba Ohen, Elegbe was going to be crowned the next Oba, since Oba Ohen did not have a son of his own. And not just the people, Elegbe himself had concluded that he was going to become the next Oba. But unfortunately, after the passing of Oba Ohen, Elegbe laid his claim to the throne, but it was contested. So his grand uncles, that is the brothers to Oba Ohen, rejected it and said that he was not fit for that throne. And their claim or their excuse, which of course according to our custom and tradition, they were right. Their excuse or their claim was that Elegbe was from the mother's lineage, from the mother's side. So Elegbe was connected to the throne or connected to Oba Ohen through a female, that is the mother, a Madeyo. If he were maybe the son of one of their nephews, that would have been a different case. So there was this contention for the throne. Of course, the Uzamani, then they were still 5. They were known as a Dionysian. They had to step in, and after some consideration, just to make peace, so that nobody would say that they were biased, they had to come up with some sort of coronation test. This coronation test was announced by the then Ewuare. So Ewuare came out and put out the challenge and asked the contestant to go and fetch them a very old and big bull that has a bird nest on his head, not just any bird, a weaver bird. Anawania hiania ya gwale emila na ha boko yon imure. Omanogi metimu emila na ha boko yon re ahia imaoba. Now, they all set out. Elegbe went back to his father's hometown, Umoun. But unfortunately, before he came back, his grand uncle, Ehemie, had provided what was demanded. He provided, surprisingly, a very old and big bull with a weaver bird on his head, and he was crowned Oba. When Elegbe came back, he was not happy. He was very vexed. So what he did was to go back to his father's hometown, Umohun, and in revenge, he divided the kingdom into 2. Yes, in the 13th century, Benin Kingdom was divided into 2. Well, the story of Elegbe is not one that can be narrated or said in passing. So we're going to reserve that for another day, a story for another day. So, after Ewuare, the first son of Eweka I, was his immediate younger brother, Ehemie. So these are the first 2 brothers who ruled Benin successively. And after Ehemie passed, his eldest son, by the name of Efabo, was in 1255 crowned as Oba Ewedo. The sons of Oba Ogola. Understand first of all that Oba Ogola was the grandson of Oba Ehemie. That is to say, Oba Ogola was the son of Oba Ewedo, who in turn was the son of Oba Ehemie. And it happened that in the case of Oba Ogola, 3 of his sons ruled Benin successively. And these sons are Edoni, Udagbedo, and Ohen. After the passing of Oba Ogola, his eldest son, Edoni, was crowned Oba. His reign was not eventful. There was actually nothing much about his reign, but it's just recorded as someone who was calm. Some other historians describe him as someone who was a lover of pleasure. In simple terms, Baba was a baller. Baba just did. Unfortunately, he also did not have a son. He didn't have an heir. So after he passed, his immediate younger brother, Udagbedo, was crowned Oba. Now, in the case of Udagbedo, his reign was not also that eventful, apart from the fact that it is recorded that the Ga people of Ghana, the Ga people of today's Ghana, migrated from Benin, AC, that's Ewesi to be precise, to today's Ghana. He also, unfortunately, did not have an heir. So, after he passed, his immediate younger brother, by the name of Ohen, was crowned Oba. The reign of Owen was very eventful. It was very eventful. I have done some videos on Ohen before, but in case you do not remember Ohen, just summarily, Ohen is the Oba that is said to have been to have become lame after a short illness. All right, you remember he became lame after a short illness, and he unalived his own Iyase. He unalived his own Iyase, that is Iyase Emuze. And that is simply because Iyase discovered his lameness. He was keeping his secret from Benin Kingdom. But Iyase discovered it, and he had to unalive Iyase. And in turn, in reaction, the reaction to this was his chiefs stoned him to death. Stoned him to death in a pit. And they stoned him to death with white chalk. Right. So this is about Oba Ohen. Right. And this history is recorded in our folklore. Till today, that is why we say Otomiorue at the passing of an Oba. We dare not say the Oba is, we say Otomiorue. And this is, from his experience, from what happened to him, because he was unalived by being stoned to death with Orue, that is white chalk. It is also recorded in our art. You find it in our bronze plaque. You see the bronze plaque before you. The fish that you see depicting his leg actually depicts his lameness, amidst other things, please. Amidst other things. One of the things that the two fish depict is his lameness. And lastly, it is also recorded in our ritual display. That is why in some of our festivals or ritual displays, especially Agwe festival, you notice some chiefs twirling the eben before the Oba, and at some point they pause to ask Oba Iyasewo. Yes, they pause to ask Oba Iyasewo. And that gesture, Iyasewo, is to ask the Oba of the whereabouts of his Iyase. Remember I had said that he unalived his Iyase. So the chiefs came asking him, where is Iyase? So you see, that is a reenactment of a historical event. Now it is recorded that Oba Ohen, before his passing, made a decree that all of his sons will rule successively. Oba Ohen had 4 sons. And like I said, he had made a decree that all his 4 sons would rule Benin Kingdom. And guess what? They did. The 4 sons of Oba Ohen were Eweka, Obiu, Ogun, and Owafioku. It happened that at the passing of Oba Ohen, his most senior son, eldest son, Eweka, was crowned Oba. There was nothing eventful about in the reigns of Oba Eweka, though it is said that it was during his reign that the Urhobo people migrated from Benin to found towns like Abraka and some other Urhobo towns. He did not also have an heir. So after his passing, his immediate younger brother, Obiu, was crowned. Obiu's reign is described rather as one that was peaceful and prosperous. And it's also recorded that it was during his reign his immediate younger brother, by the name of Ogun, was exiled. He was exiled by the today Uzama Niyon. Though then they were, as at the time, they were 6 in number. They had not become 7 members. They were 6. So they had exiled him. They were actually scared of him. They knew that Ogun was very strong. He was very strong. So they feared that if he became Oba as the father had decreed, it was not going to be good for them at all. Don't also forget what they did to his father, Oba Ohen. So he was sent to exile. Now, at the passing of Oba Obiu, the next to come, also did not have a male child, so there was no heir. The next to have been crowned was supposed to have been Ogun, the immediate younger brother, but he was in exile. Right. So the younger brother who knew everything, that is Ewuare, the last son, who knew everything, who knew the whereabouts of Ogun, actually betrayed him and usurped the throne, telling the elders that he had died. So Ewuare, the last son of Oba Ohen, was crowned Oba. But he reigned for only 10 years. It was after 10 years, Ogun retrieved the throne from his younger brother, Ewuare, and he was crowned in 1440 as Oba Ewuare Ogidigan no Cow. The sons of Oba Ewuare Ogidigan no Cow. Yes, just like his father, Oba Ohen, the sons of Oba Ewuare also reigned successively, and this is the reason why. Understand that Oba Ewuare had previously had two sons, Ewuare and Ewuare. Ewuare was sent to Ewuare to become the duke or a nogi there, while Ewuare was sent to the household of one warlord Iken at Uselu. Iken was a warlord, and Oba Ewuare sent Iken on a mission to Owo. So Iken had a very large household, and he had a territory that he was lord over. So Oba Ewuare, having sent Iken on that mission, sent his son Ewuare to go and hold forth to oversee the household of Iken and the territory of Iken. So the Edo people, we say Oyada Yiniken, Onoyada Yiniken. He went to hold forth for Iken, where that word came out from, Edaiken, Edayiken, Edaiken. So Ewuare is the first Edaiken in the history of Benin. I've done a video on this, about 2 videos. If you want a detailed story about this, please check my page on TikTok. Unfortunately, these two brothers, Ewuare and Ewuare, unalived each other the same day. So Oba Ewuare Ogidigan lost his only 2 sons on the same day. So for this, he made a decree that Edo people or Benin Empire must mourn his 2 sons. And this was accompanied by very strict laws, very strict rules, one of which was no man should know his wife, no man should sleep with his wife. But it happened that there was a man in the kingdom who actually birthed 2 sons within that period, so the man was scared. And when these children were born, according to some historians, they were named Nobaragbe and Nedoragbe. People were surprised. They were wondering how one would name his children like that. To cut the story short, it got to Oba Ewuare, and Oba Ewuare invited the man. The man explained, he made him understand that he had not actually known his wife since that law was made, that the wife had just taken in before the law was made. So they got into a conversation, and he was the one who gave hopes to Oba Ewuare that he could still bear children, male children to be precise. He asked him how, and he told him. So the medicine man who did the medicine for the man was invited, according to some historians, from Uzea. He came to Benin, made the medicines, and actually Oba Ewuare Ogidigan no Cow had 3 more sons. 3 more sons. Ezoti, Olua, and Okpame. Some historians will say that a test was carried out on these 3 sons, trying to know. It was it was said, or rather, it was instructed by their father, that is Oba Ewuare, to know which one would fit the throne, who would rule the kingdom or empire well. But after close examination, after all the tests have been carried out, they came back to Oba Ewuare and told him that none of his sons was fit to rule the kingdom. Now, the reason for the most senior one, that is Ezoti, they said Ezoti was too selfish, self-centered, and he did treat people well. The second son, Olua, they said he was too generous. He was too generous that he might sell the palace and use the money for what do you call charity. And for the third son, Okpame, they were just actually scared of that man. They were scared because he was a very strong man, almost like his father, if not more than his father. So when they came to Oba Ewuare and told him that none of his sons was fit to rule the kingdom, then he made a prophecy, not a decree now, a prophecy that all of his 3 sons were going to rule Benin Empire. After Oba Ewuare Okao passed, his 3 sons ruled Benin Empire, following the prophecy that he had made. Remember that he prophesied that his 3 sons were going to rule the empire, just like his own father, Oba Ohen, did. Though in Oba Ohen's case, it was a decree. But in his case, it was a prophecy. So in 1473, Oba Ezoti was crowned Oba. But guess what? He spent only 14 days on the throne. Only 14 days. And that is simply because on the day of his coronation, he was shot with a poisoned arrow in his forehead. So the elders, they were trying to see if they could manage this within these 14 days, but they couldn't. So on the 14th day, Oba Ezoti passed. So Oba Ezoti is recorded as the shortest reigned Oba in the history of Benin Empire or kingdom. At his demise, his only son, Owe, who had been at AC, living in AC with his mother, was sought for. The youngest brother, Okpame, volunteered to go fetch him himself. He volunteered that he was going to be the one to go and fetch his brother's only son from AC to be crowned as Oba. But unfortunately, on their way to Benin, Okpame unalived this young man and his mother, only for him to get to Benin and told Edo people, all the elders, that some very great beast had devoured the young boy and his mother. But of course, the elders knew the truth. So what they did was to banish him. Okpame was banished and he took refuge or went into exile at Ora. You all know Ora. All right. So since the throne was empty, they had to crown the immediate younger brother to Ezoti by the name of Olua. But when Olua was approached, Olua abdicated. He said that he didn't want to become Oba, and that is simply because Olua was very scared of his younger brother, Okpame. What the elders did then was to approach the senior daughter of Oba Ewuare by the name of Edeleyo. And it is written or recorded that Edeleyo was even made a Daiken, but on the day that she was supposed to be crowned, on the day of coronation, she fell ill from the normal monthly women or women monthly thing. All right. So they could not crown her. And it was from then a decree was made that no woman would become Oba, no woman would ever be crowned as Oba. And then they went back to Olua, and this time, Olua yielded. In 1475, the second son of Oba Ewuare by the name of Olua was crowned Oba, though he was still very scared. He was still very scared. Initially, he had abdicated. He said he didn't want. But in 1475, he became Oba. Olua was just the way he had been described. Very generous, Olua was generous, very, very generous. So that in Edo, if someone is extremely generous, we describe that person. We compare that person to Olua, or we describe the person as Olua. I will always say when Olua, when Olua, always say when Olua, always say. Remember the prophecy. Olua's first son or eldest son was by the name Iginwa. Iginwa. For some reason, he had this concern that the Uzamani did not like his son Iginwa, and they weren't going to crown him as Oba. So what did he do? He decided to create a smaller kingdom for his son Iginwa, close to the waters, close to the river. So Olua today in history is regarded or recorded in history as the father of the first Olu of Warri. So it is Iginwa the Urobo people, or the people of Warri, know as Ginwa. The second son was sent to Eho to monitor the movement of Okpame. Remember, despite he became Oba, he was still very scared of his younger brother Okpame. So, just so that he does not lose guard, he had sent his second son around that area, that is Eho, to help him monitor the movement of Okpame. So it was this second son of his that later became the Enogieo, or the Duke of Eho. When Olua passed, the throne was empty again. The elders had no choice than to send the message to Okpame, whom they had earlier banished. But guess what? Okpame rejected and said he wasn't coming. 1483 saw the crowning of Okpame as Oba Ozolua. Yes, the same Ozolua Nibaomi. Remember I said that after the passing of Olua, a message was sent to Okpame in exile, but he refused. A couple of other messages were sent to him, different emissaries were sent to him, but he refused until the last message, which is the strongest, was sent to him. Now it is recorded that the Okaiomo had been sent to Okpame. When the Okaiomo got to Okpame, he only greeted. That was all. No words, nothing. He removed his ekboki, that is Benin or Edo leather bag, opened it, and from that bag, 2 different rats ran out. One, a bush rat, the other, a house rat. The bush rat ran straight into the bush, while the house rat ran straight into the house. Oriki ekboki ni ofon ha keke ofon wa yana tulela dian ekboki. Ofon ha na rulela ofon wa na rulela wa. That was the message. Everywhere was quiet. And then Okpame thought to himself and said, if ordinary animals, not just any animal as small and as unintelligent as common rats, knew where they belong. They knew where they belonged as animals. What is left for him as an intelligent human being? The house rat went into the house, the bush rat went into the bush. What business does he have at Ora? Though it was part of the kingdom, but his rightful place was the throne of Benin Kingdom. That was the strong message that changed Okpame's mind. And in 1483, he was crowned Oba Ozolua Nibaomi. The 2 sons of Oba Ewuare ruled Benin successively, and these are Ozue and Akenzua. But this was due to a case of usurping. After the passing of Oba Ewuare, his second son Ozue decided to usurp the throne, and he was actually aided by the Iyase at that time, Iyase Ode. But this actually caused a lot of chaos. In short, it is recorded that it caused a civil war in Benin Kingdom for 1 year. So after 1 year, in 1713, his eldest brother Akenzua retrieved the throne. So Ozue and Akenzua ruled Benin successively. The last instance of this case as recorded in our history so far, has ended with the sons of Oba Obanusa, that is in 1816. It happened that after the passing of Oba Obanusa, because of the travails of Oba Obanusa, there was some instability in the political environment of Benin Kingdom. I have done a video on this, a detailed video. If you've not seen that video, I would recommend that I refer you to my TikTok page. You'll find the series there, or you can find it on my Facebook page, or you can find the full video on my YouTube page. I recommend you go see the video. So because of the conflict between Oba Obanusa and Oso Pahara at the time, which led to the death of Oso Pahara, or the unaliving of Oso Pahara, and the unaliving of Oba Obanusa's mother, that is Olua Ose, or Queen Ose. A lot of things happened, and after the passing of Oba Obanusa, the kingdom was not stable. So the second son to Oba Obanusa, by the name of Ogbebo, took advantage of this instability to usurp the throne, whereas his eldest brother, that is the rightful heir to the throne, by the name of Oko Ediawa, that is Prince Ediawa, was there. So this caused more chaos in the kingdom. But Ogbebo only spent 8 months on the throne because his eldest brother, Oko Ediawa, retrieved the throne after 8 months in the same year, 1816. And Oko Ediawa was crowned in 1816 Oba Osemede. We've come to the end of this video, and I'm sure you must have learned a thing or two today. You must have been educated and at the same time entertained. So please, if you learned anything today, teach these things to your household. Teach these things to your children. Let your children know who they are as adult children. Especially for the fact that these things are no longer taught in schools. If you'd like to see more of such videos, the ones that I've made before and the ones that are yet to come, please, I recommend you follow my TikTok page, Ezomo Kakadu. You can as well follow me on Facebook by the same name, Ezomo Kakadu, or Osegedu. I'm also on YouTube by the same name, Ezomo Kakadu. And please do not forget to subscribe to support this movement. And for those of you who are on TikTok, please, your support is welcome. You can support by gifting this video directly. So you cannot send gifts through my content, through my videos. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again very soon with more interesting historical tales. Obedo Yagatokbei.